Okay, so the GAR Southwest MLS Antitrust Compliance Policy. The GAR Southwest MLS Antitrust Compliance Policy applies to officers, directors, employees, and members of GAR. This policy requires that such individuals be familiar and fully comply with all applicable federal and state antitrust laws in all dealings on behalf of GAR and Southwest MLS. GAR facilities will not be used by any officer, director, employee, committee, or member in connection with any anti-competitive or unlawful purpose or unreasonable restraint of trade. Conduct expressly prohibited includes the following: any discussion or effort to directly or indirectly fix, peg, stabilize, raise, lower, or affect prices on commissions, products, advertising, or credit terms. Any discussion of real estate commissions or other fees or specific non-price business practices of any particular members, except in the context of professional standards proceedings. This limitation shall not extend to discussions of methods of operation, maintenance, similar matters in which cost or efficiency is merely incidental. Any discussion or effort by or among any members, non-members, or competitors to eliminate or limit competition, to divide or allocate territories or customers, or to limit the nature of business carried on, or products or services sold or to be sold. Any discussions or effort to engage in any group boycott or concerted refusals to deal, and any discussions or effort to injure or disparage the business or trade of anyone. If a topic is raised which appears to involve a violation of the antitrust compliance policy at any formal or informal, we'll make this one informal, GAR or Southwest MLS meeting, anyone in attendance has the right and all have the duty to interrupt and demand discussion be stopped. Those in charge of the meeting are responsible for seeing that this policy is enforced so that the prohibited conduct is stopped immediately. If the prohibited conduct persists, those responsible persons shall terminate the discussion, cancel the remainder of the meeting, and refer the matter to the president and or GAR legal counsel for further action to ensure compliance with the antitrust policy. You have all been baptized. Whatever is appropriate for that thought. I cannot begin to thank individually all the folks that are here today, but I want you to know in the room is a great deal of knowledge, tremendous inspiration for me, and people really wanting to do the right thing. Past and present real estate commissioners, past and present real estate commission employees, my friends of coming up on 50 years now. Thank you very, very much. A couple of ground rules. Commissioner DeVlieg, Gilman, and I have a set, short little presentation. Then, if there are questions, comments, or desires for input, please step up to this corner. Everybody can see the microphone. This is being recorded so it can be circulated at a later date. Many of you will be asking me, when is that? And with all due respect for GAR, it depends on how out of control we get. First, the video has to be made, then it has to be edited to make sure that I haven't done something really dumb up here, or we haven't made a mistake along that line. My action items at the end of the presentation on the screen will be a QR code to sign a petition that is going to go to the Regulation and Licensing Department. Laura is also going to email that sometime in the next couple of days. Understand the holidays are here, and I'm not sure anybody in Santa Fe is working for the next 10 days. But if I could task you with anything, it would be to please share the video and or the QR code for the petition. Jumping forward to the end, what we're trying to do is to get the Regulation and Licensing Department to follow New Mexico state law. Oh, you thought there was something else? I appreciate that look. That really is how simple this comes down after all my research, all of Linda's help. My mentor, Mr. Lou Tulga, provided some very valuable input. Although I had a really great graphic nobody thought I should use. I'm over it. I'll show it to you on my phone if you want. There will be several Facebook posts about this, and I appreciate, Christine, if you'll make sure you get some pictures that show just exactly how many of my friends were crazy enough to give up a holiday weekday to listen to this. So, pardon me, I'm going to set the stage, and then I'm going to turn it over to Linda so you can hear her presentation. Oh, sorry. Remember, you're being recorded. Whatever you say will live on the internet forever. That won't be as long for me as for some of you. My goals: I want to support the Real Estate Commission in taking the control of our industry back from the Regulation and Licensing Department. Restore an appropriate level of staffing. A number of past Real Estate Commission employees are here, and while Linda may have some more direct insight, my favorite quote about why I'm here today was from the education director of the Real Estate Commission, who basically said he was the entire commission staff now. Just by show of hands, how many of you have had exemplary service in transferring or renewing a license?
Okay, I did.
You're special. How many of you, by show of hands, have had some disconsternation with being a constituent of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission? Absolutely something wrong with that. Mm-hmm. I want to return transparency. We are one of the only boards and commissions parts that are to be autonomous, where we have our own investigators, etc. I want to inform you about what's going on. And I'm going to depend upon each of you sharing 3 or 4 times the QR code. I would like to register an impressive number of crazies with RLD. And it is my hope that we can convince the Regulation and Licensing Department to follow the New Mexico statutes without having to litigate. I've had several suggestions from many of my peers about how we could litigate this, and I don't like litigation in the first place And I'll guarantee I don't like litigation when I know I'm paying both ends of the attorney's fees. There's something just a little bit illogical about this. And if somebody disagrees with me, you're wrong. I mean, it's okay. This is really not a popularity contest of any kind. I just want to do the right thing, and I want the state of New Mexico to do the right thing with our tax dollars and our regulators to do the right thing with our licensing monies, which so far doesn't appear to be happening. Mark your calendars for January 13th. While this would overwhelm the facilities again, on the 13th, the Real Estate Commission meeting will happen here at the GAR facility. And I think it's important that we show RLD in person our interest in what's going on. Linda DeVille-Kilman, I've known for a number of years. She gets it. She's passionate. She's currently the president of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. I was going to give her an award. However, one other commissioner snuck through in front by about a quarter point. You don't have to understand that, Linda will. So please, give Linda your attention, your respect, and your support. I'll sit down for a while.
Can y'all hear me? No. No? Should I get up there? Yeah. Where's my step stool? That's fine. Okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Usually I empty a room when I enter, so I'm really thrilled to see everybody here. I learned that from a certain employee that said every time they go into a room, people leave, because we tend to be kind of unpopular. No reason to be. First, I'm going to read you the mission statement of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. It's to protect the public and enhance the professional competence of real estate brokers. The New Mexico Real Estate Commission was created by state law in 1959 and charged with enforcing the real estate license law and real estate commission rules. So the part about how we represent the public's interest seems to take front stage, because that's what we do. We help the public when there's a dispute with a real estate licensee, realtors and non-realtors alike. But we're also here to help you enhance your professionalism. I'm a big believer that if you enhance your professionalism through education and good behavior, that does tend to get you more business. So it's not a conflict to behave yourself and run your real estate business properly so that the public sees you as a good asset for their big asset. So from that perspective, that's where I get passionate about what we do at the commission. A lot of that's with education, issuance of licenses, making sure that everybody takes the right classes and that the classes are offered and that the educators are vetted, all of that, and that processes run well. So if you all have a question, you can call, get somebody on the phone to answer your question so that you've escaped a problem or you know how to work through a problem for either yourself or the public. I can tell you, in my 30 years of real estate, I've been a respondent twice and I've been a claimant once. So I know how those processes work, And both of those times I was treated great. I was never confused about the process. Somebody answered the phone, I got through, I presented my file when it was requested. The process went great. It was, both of my respondent cases were closed, which I was thankful for, but I never felt like I was being treated unfairly or that the questions were inappropriate. When I was a claimant, I can tell you they jumped all over it. I had a claim against a property manager for myself personally, so I was a claimant. And that worked out really quickly and well. So I always had good experiences with the Real Estate Commission. In fact, I don't even know the year, but I know Mr. Carter would remember that KRQE called me one day and said, could you give us an interview about the Real Estate Commission? I think it was around 2011 or so, I can't remember. And I said, sure, because I had just gone through these two cases. And so they came to the office and asked me, what do you think of them? I said, I think they do a great job. It's an efficiently run organization. And I think they're here to help the public and the profession. He got interviewed at the same time. We didn't know each other, but after the interview, he called to say, thanks for making us look good. So it was something that I've always thought, that they're supposed to run a good organization. Then I got the call in 2021. Well, it was actually way before that. Would you like to be considered to be a real estate commissioner? And I think I virtually hung up on him because I thought it was a scam call, even though it said State of New Mexico, but I called him back and said, whoops, I guess I was kidding. Yeah, I'll be considered. It did take a while for the appointment because of COVID and other things that were going on, but I thought, wow, this is an amazing opportunity, because I've served with the association for a long time in various roles. These are all volunteer, although now I get paid $45 per meeting, so, there's that. But I think I got lunch, though, when I volunteered for GAR, so it was good. So I'm used to serving for the enhancement of professionalism and all of that this is a most amazing profession. And now things have been overshadowed by, I think, what could be considered improper upper management and a conflict about the definition of administrative attachment. That seems to be the basic argument. So to explain, because I didn't understand it for a very long time. Like, everybody thinks, oh, the commission is the same as the association. The difference is we can give you the license and we can take it away. So it's kind of biblical, but other than that, it's very different. But our RLD is like the mothership. They handle more than 24 boards and commissions. From the Real Estate Commission, which has the most amount of members, I think it fluctuates from 10 to 12,000 real estate licensees throughout the state. Barbers and Cosmos is their way of saying barbers and cosmetologists. They have a little bit less than us. They don't have CE either. That's a big difference. All the way down to body art, nursing, accountants, decorators, you name it. It's kind of a fascinating thing to see how many boards there are. What they've tried to do as, I'm not gonna use proper terms, but terms that you might understand how it's structured. They're like the manager, they're like the landlord of the tenants who are the boards. And each one of these boards has commissioners, has people that run things, secretaries, investigators. And RLD is like the big landlord that's trying to manage all of these boards and commissions, but they're overdoing it. From my view, when I saw what was happening with the investigators no longer being 100% dedicated to real estate, they were starting to be shared. And it's like, why is that happening? Streamlining. Standardization is the word that I've been told. They're trying to get standardization. It's impossible. I think it's impossible. Efficiency at the cost of effectiveness. This one-stop phone number to call and find out how to get a hold of a quick question about your license, your education. It's not working. I know it's not working. Not working for me. I got curious one day and called another board. I wanted to find out how to get a certain license for a different profession. I could have been half serious, I don't know. It's just one of those moments. And I thought, how do I find out how it really is done to become a private investigator? Wouldn't that be cool? I have the best crime shows on my menu. But so I did the one-stop phone number, email, schedule an appointment for a phone call. Well, it was an interesting conversation. 2 days later, 20 minutes late. Now, the 20 minutes late, okay, fine, I have forgiveness for that. But I had to wait 2 or 3 days to talk to somebody who basically said, I don't know the answers to your question. So it's not working. I think it can be fixed. The red tape to go through to get it fixed is what you people are here for, the constituents. I'm a big fan of activism, and I believe that RLD is tired of hearing from the 5 commissioners about it. They probably just think we're just chatty and I'm difficult and, to finger pointing and just tell her to be quiet. That doesn't work either. So then I talk to people like Mr. McCoy, and I think things get done with numbers, with people that are being affected by the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some RLD employees that are doing a fantastic job within the structure that they're having to work in. But I think we need to go above and beyond that. I don't want it to be a hostile environment. We need collaboration. That's what it's supposed to be by definition. I've taken a lot of time and gone through old Attorney General opinions. And some of these opinions come from other boards where administrative attachment is definitely defined. Now, Attorney General opinions, as my friend, a past Attorney General, said, it's just an opinion. I said, well, it's better than my opinion because it's got your name on it. But these Attorney Generals throughout these years have said administrative attachment means this only. But right now, RLD is trying to fill in the only with shall. We will do this for you. And sort of, I will quote what he said. We're with the government, we're here to help. So we're trying to get the constituents, which is you, and everybody aware that while we are here, the commission is here for sometimes cases that might be brought in front of, you might have brought to you. The thing to remember, there may be a question going around where you're thinking, well, what do I care if the building's burning down, what do I care? How am I going to be affected? That just means I can get away with something. Because you all are cooperative licensees. So imagine if the person on the other side is not playing nice in that sandbox. Your client, you, the transaction is all going to be affected. So we need fair representation with investigators. We need efficient staffing that can perform those duties so that we as commissioners can can do our job. Once a complaint is brought, we can't just ignore it. If somebody says, oh, never mind, I don't want to file that complaint. We got it all settled, we're friends now. We still have to see it, hear it, and make a judgment about it, even if it's just a 5-minute discussion in closed session. So there's so many layers to this, which is why I'd like you all to come to meetings, because you'll learn a lot about how restricted it is during a meeting. We only get to talk to each other 4 times a year. So what happens in those meetings is that moment in time where something could and should get done. There's a lot of stuff right now that haven't been getting done because the staff has shredded. We've been starved out of efficiency. So thanks for coming. I welcome questions all the time. I'm trying to gather evidence and proof and materials that I can take to the higher place, and hopefully that can get done. If you all personally know any legislators, that would be really helpful. The legislative session is coming up. It's a long one. And so I'm in touch with some people that hopefully can walk in those doors and complain and talk to somebody who could, legislators, that's what they do. They try to get things done when their constituents, like you, even if they're not in your district, they love to go in there and try to stir things up and fix something. So use that tool. Take advantage of what the tools are that you can get things changed, and help us to help you get things fixed. Because there's good people in these 5 seats up here every quarter. And we really just want to concentrate on getting commission work done and not having to do this. So, Mr. McCoy.
Sweet, kind, caring. Difficult probably was a valid description when things are not going as they should. Thank you so much for coming, and my job for the next little while is to, and the commissioner was very kind and accurate, but I'm tired of Regulation and Licensing Department saying you don't know what administratively attached means. When I can go to 9-1-7 of the New Mexico statutes, 3 paragraphs, and tell them exactly what administratively attached means. I do not believe that anybody at RLD has a malevolent intent. If I did, I would be using words like embezzlement, etc. For those of you that missed it at the last New Mexico Real Estate Commission meeting, Regulation and Licensing Department sent the accountant, who didn't even have the numbers. The numbers they did have indicate they're not following the statute and protecting the public. Our Real Estate Commission Recovery Fund is still some $30,000 short of its statutory minimum. Now, I have to be careful about what I ask for, because as a history lesson, in the past, the Recovery Fund used to be required to be kept at $250,000. Well, one year, in search of money, the Legislative Finance Committee removed all but $150,000. When we pointed out the error of their ways, they simply amended the act to only require $150,000. That's not taking good care of us. It's certainly not taking good care of the public, because the recovery fund is what takes care of people who have run across crooked brokers. What Linda and the rest of the Real Estate Commission look at every other month or every 3 months, depending upon their schedule, is people that have been accused of doing something inappropriate. By the way, 60% of hearings end up with a "never mind. Thanks for your time." You don't want to be the one that got that done. An eloquently worded question with the help of Mr. Tolga. What gives the Regulation and Licensing Department the right to take over a board that is autonomous by statute? Or when you ask, please come to the commission meeting, when the commissioners ask RLD that, please help me try to make sense of what they say. Hadn't worked so far. So, there are collateral laws, Regulation and Licensing Department. This is a money grab. I'm sure that's an offensive term to the Regulation and Licensing Department. But the further they can spread our budget, the happier they are. And this has led to, as commission investigators have left voluntarily or under duress, they're not being replaced. So right now, don't worry, if a member of the public files a complaint against you, the person that will contact you potentially was just in a pot shop making sure all of their lids were on tight. Or in the alternative, they were just at the funeral home. That's not good for us. It's not good for the public. I expected a little bit different split when I asked everybody to raise their hands. But in 2022, November, I had to renew my real estate license. Actually, I could have done it in October, but you know who we are. Didn't want to waste any of those free days in the grace period. I did actually renew substantially before the deadline because the computer system, anybody had a good experience with that? Okay, now we got 2 hands, cool. I'm surprised. I did not have a bad experience, but it should not take me an hour and a half to give somebody my money, a few documents, and sign some forms. If you have tried to find anything on the RLD or Real Estate Commission website, congratulations. And here is a side complaint. The Real Estate Commission requires each of us that are qualifying brokers to have a copy of the real estate license law and rules available in our office. This has got kind of a 2-step process that irritates the heck out of me. Let me give you the solution first. Unless you're a geek like I am with the websites, you don't have a copy of that. If you would like a copy of the 2024 Real Estate Licensing Act and Rules, you may go to my website, billmccoy.net, hit the menu button and go to the page that says links and downloads. And there is a PDF copy that will keep you compliant. I have stayed on the research side of this, but it's my understanding that past commission staff was tasked with creating a license law book like we've always had. And that was created, and RLD will not allow it to be released. I guess they're trying to decide if they like the statute or not. I don't get that. But I promise you that as of 2 weeks ago, everything on the website that you could download will make you compliant. It is there because I could do it. No charge. Please take advantage of that. There are 3 bank accounts I'll talk to you about. And I always err on the side of a constituent of regulation and licensing. However, I want you to know that the public, at this point in time, depending upon the individual they might talk to at RLD, is being told they can't ask questions until they file a complaint. And when the consumer says, no, it's just a question, they're told, call an attorney. If you believe for a minute that that is effectively helping to protect the public, I think you're crazier than I am. And that's a bar to meet, ladies and gentlemen. There are laws in place for those of you that would like the backup. It's all there. 2 different laws created 2 different entities in New Mexico. 1959, the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. And in 1983, the New Mexico Regulation and Licensing Division. There are 2 different statutes. The only thing that connects them is one sentence in 6129, the Real Estate Licensing Act, saying that the New Mexico Real Estate Commission is administratively attached. And when you go to what that means in the New Mexico Real Estate, or the New Mexico statutes, everybody knows I'm not really good at politically correct, and so forgive the antiquated reference, but the RLD is our secretary. That's the end of their authority. So 2 different statutes. I'll just let you read over the mission statement from the Real Estate Commission. And the Regulation and Licensing Department. Many of you have volunteered plenty of hours, as I have, for the state of New Mexico, working with the New Mexico Real Estate Commission or with our trade groups. And I thank you for that. It makes us all better. But when I looked at the RLD mission statement, I need your help to get their ear, because the answer when I read this is, really? When are you going to start? Quality services from qualified individuals. I'll bet we have a lot of qualified individuals working in RLD. This is not a personal attack. Here are the two things on the left-hand side of the screen that administratively attached means. And trust me, while I don't know all the commissioners really well, I've known many of them for a long time, and they did not call and request severe reductions in staff and elimination of the investigators, or that the RLD potentially misappropriate funds that the 5 commissioners are responsible for by law. On the right-hand side of the screen are the statutory requirements or abilities of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. The Real Estate Commission Fund is where your $270 goes each 3-year cycle, $90 a year. And by the way, that law says it is not to be taken out except at the direction of the Real Estate Commission. Something that RLD has apparently not read. The second is the Education and Training Fund. For those of us that present material for a paycheck, we have to be licensed, we have to pay fees, and those fees go into the Education and Training Fund and assist the commission in keeping high-quality education programs available to you, vetting instructors, etc. And then there is the Recovery Fund. Of all the things that begin to smell when I stir this pot, is why is the Recovery Fund short? Those of you that have renewed your license recently, you paid another contribution into the Recovery Fund. Well, you paid a contribution. At this point in time, I don't know where that money is going. And I certainly appreciate Commissioner DeVlieg-Kilman willing to stand in front of you and take questions, etc. But before the next meeting, I will have made a request under Part 15 of our statute for a complete accounting of the revenues and expenditures of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. That does not make me happy because the 5 volunteers who sit there are just going to have to look at me like, okay. Then they're going to have to look at the RLD staff and say, when can we have that? And I want you to know the last time the accountant from the RLD staff was asked that question. This is paraphrased, but it's complete. You know, I have 28 boards and commissions. I can't possibly do that for all of them. Oh well. Errors and omissions insurance, don't forget, you only got a few days to wrap that up again this year. Background checks, and I find it absolutely fascinating that the RLD doesn't want to hire staff because it is the Real Estate Commission who has by law the right to hire staff. I promise. All the folks that helped me with this short but intense struggle are getting the same runaround from the RLD. Well, no, our statute has changed. Don't tell that to a guy who knows how to read the statutes and the annotations about when it last changed. Because nothing has changed, Lou, in answer to your great opening question. Nothing has changed, except nobody's been watching. Take a picture of this if you would like. Interesting that the actual superintendent of the Regulation and Licensing Department, I have been unable to find any contact information on the web at all. I'd like to be that director. Be kind of like being a QB and I didn't have to give my associate brokers my number. That'd be cool. Melissa Salazar, I think, needs to be our first and most vociferously communicated with. I don't have that ability, but I do have the ability to raise a little Cain. And thank you for being Cain. You have to really hunt around on the commission website to find out who our commissioners are.
And by the way, I asked to have our contact information put on.
Yeah. If you couldn't hear Linda, she asked to have the contact information put on the website. What a unique concept. I don't know who would ever have come up with that if we didn't have her assistance. But this seems to just be a stonewalling of the issues at hand. Our newest commissioner, Mr. Vasquez, is a public member. The four on the top are licensed brokers in New Mexico. And out of kindness, I will not tell you how close to 100 years of real estate experience they have between the four of them. Now, important to me on this is that you realize that this discussion has nothing to do with the Realtor organization. I love being a realtor. I'm a member of 2 boards and have been since 1970s with only a few short exceptions. And while the Greater Albuquerque Association of Realtors, New Mexico Association of Realtors, and National Association of Realtors goals align with the Real Estate Commission in some cases to protect the public, the Realtors Association, forgive me, cannot make laws. That has to be done by the New Mexico legislature. They also cannot enforce the laws. But I do want to plug one more time the fact that one of the reasons I am so incredibly happy to be a Realtor member is represented in this room today. I don't know of very many friends that I could just pick up the phone and call and have a couple of emails back and forth and invite 125 of my friends in one of the premier facilities in New Mexico. So I would like everybody to read, and if you agree with it, sign the petition. There will also be a link going out to everybody who registered on the email from the Eventbrite list. It is my intention to probably leave this open through January 15th. However, I'm going to work with Commissioner DeVlieg-Kilman to find out what the cutoff is for the agenda on January 13th. And I'm going to do an interim count of the responses along this line. But this QR code will get you to the petition, which simply asks the Regulation and Licensing Division to stay in their lane. They could do some great things to empower the Real Estate Commission to do some great things. But having said it that way, I was always an over-optimistic young fellow. And when I said something that was going to be hard to do, my daddy would look at me and he says, you know, if you had some ham, you could have some ham and eggs if you just had some eggs. I feel as though we have prepared the information necessary for your voice to be heard. I need some help. When I call RLD, they don't even know who I am. And by the way, I think that's a good thing. Just saying. So if anybody has any input that they would like to provide or any questions that they would like to ask, please feel free. You need to be behind the microphone. Otherwise, unless Commissioner DeVlieg-Kilman has another bit she would like to add, I'm going to call my rant for today over with. Please, please, please support or vote against this thought, but be involved. January 13th, 9 a.m., probably same time, same channel, kind of a thought for this room. Please show RLD that you support the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. And as the commissioner mentioned, if you know anybody in the roundhouse, bend their ear. Because this is statewide. This is not just realtors. This is just not just qualifying brokers or associate brokers. This is the industry that over 50 years has provided for me and my family. And I want to do the right thing. So I don't see anybody lining up for the microphone. Okay, Sandy, Tigo.
We like questions.
These are brave folks to speak on video. Yep.
Charging up? Yeah. Oh, there it is. Okay. First of all, Bill, I want to thank you personally for doing this for us.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you for answering my questions during my trying period. Most recently, my issue is that I sold the building on Moon and Minot. I had to move, so I have a new location. So GAR took the lead on that, making sure that I got the correct address where I'm at now for me and my agents. And we sent that form in 4 times, okay? And that was started in October. So now here in December, I'm finally getting close to getting it achieved. There is a thing called universal form you have to fill out now. And that universal form is going to be the same form to renew your license, to change your license, to get married and let them know. I don't know. It's universal. Okay. So So I finally did that, and then they request that I turn in my E&O. Okay, here it is, the end of December. Which one you turn in? You turn in the new one, which I already got, or the old one? So I turned in the new one thinking, oh, I'll think outside the box. No, that didn't work. We don't want that one. We want the old one. Well, you have the old one, as you all know. All right, so I had to turn that in. So then the universal form has to be filled out by my brokers in my office. And they said, do that for them, keyword for. I did that for them. No, they kick it back. That don't work. They have to do it and sign it. Got that achieved. Then, now this is where it really gets me confusing. Then I have to turn in my license, my brokers, and their brokers take it down there personally before they can move forward again. So now here I am in my office, no license on the wall. Is that breaking a rule? I think so. So I took it down there. I said, okay, you can have this. I want a receipt. Oh, we don't do receipts. You probably heard this before. They can't do receipts. Then I finally took a business and said, well, then you don't get these. It's all over. So you can know my personality. My voice went up a couple notches. Okay, we'll copy it for you, and then we'll stamp received. And that's what happened yesterday, October, November, and middle December. That's part of the frustration. Thank you, Bill, for guiding us through this and help us achieve what we need to continue working. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I want to say that's the best presentation of exactly what's going on. Again, I think if the 5 commissioners could get together in a room and prepare the correct forms, but we can't. So it's not us. It's that fantasy of standardization that they want to see happen. So the Right Honorable Mr. Pasquale has said it perfectly.
Thank you, but there's only one form now. It's universal, covers everything. Mr. Venturi, please.
Couple things. First off, I was voluntold to ask this question on behalf of the fabulous Jen Cody, who couldn't make it. And she asked, so will you make a mention of the fact that the Raising Commission, the Gaming Control Board are standalone commissions that are part of the RLD. They are under RLD and they petitioned to be separate. It may be in our best interest to separate from them. So it sounds like you kind of answered that question, but maybe some more clarity around that for Jen.
And that's a very valid question, and it has been discussed. I'm not going to give you what some of the answers have been given to us when we mention that, but I will say that's a long process. I wouldn't mind seeing it done, but we didn't get a budget presented to us for 3 years, so we didn't know how much money we had to do with anything. But it's a process, and it can be done. You have to budget for hiring your own staff. It's a statutory process, but it can be done. And so it's...
So when you say statutory, that means it would have to come out of the roundhouse before it could be done.
Would have to, be put into the statutes that we're a standalone organization. I believe we have the money to do it. If the budget hashtag that we were presented, which, by the way, it was given to us verbally in the meeting, so if you're seeing the last commission meeting, it was read to us. I had to request it in writing, and what I got was interesting, and so it needs to be interpreted further. So, but I believe we've got the money to do it, but then you have to get your own process going to do it. But point well taken.
But in your presentation, Bill, you made the point that basically we statutorily are an independent operation. Is that I mean the commission?
Right. The New Mexico Real Estate Commission and the Licensing Act are independent of the Regulation and Licensing Division, with the exception of one sentence in 612915 that says the New Mexico Real Estate Commission is administratively attached to the Regulation and Licensing Department. Then when you go to the Regulation and Licensing Department statute, it defines exactly what administratively attached means. That's what was up.
Okay.
These are the 2 points.
So if they actually just followed what the statute says, being separate would be a non-issue?
And if they would tell the Real Estate Commission the truth about how to get things done and get out of their way, you can tell I have no adrenaline about this. The statute is already very clear. The New Mexico Real Estate Commission is not a department or a commission of RLD. It is administratively attached. And if anybody else tells me they don't know what that means, she's always right. She's always right. I believe the succinct understanding is if the Regulation and Licensing Department would simply follow the New Mexico statutes without playing the political game and robbing us for budgetary needs, we would not need to be here today. It's that simple. Thank you, Tigo.
Former commissioners here, so
Former Commissioner Johnson, always good to see you.
Former is the key word there. I want to say that this has been going on for a long, long time. I was a real estate commissioner for 8 years, and during COVID, it seems to be that this is where this is a long game, and it seems like during COVID is when they started taking their first steps towards taking control of the Real Estate Commission. And you may remember at that time, or you may not have been paying attention at that time, they removed the executive secretary, Wayne Sitio, unceremoniously. He just disappeared. And we weren't told as real estate commissioners. We just showed up one day and he was gone. So we were left to try to figure out how to run the commission during COVID when no one knew how to do anything. And it was an interesting moment in time because in doing that, we realized some of these things were going on. And we realized that the Real Estate Recovery Fund had been swept. And we realized that they had a duty to present our budget to us and that they were not. And so you may find in your research, Bill, that there are recordings of those meetings that were held here at GAR where we forced them to present the budget to us and explain on a recording where our money was going, which they did not do very well. The stonewalling continues. So I was aware of this, but I really didn't know what to do about it. And I want to commend you both for taking charge and leading on this. The last thing that our industry needs is another attack from another direction. And you're absolutely right. The duty of the commission is to protect the public and to enhance our professionalism. And in taking away control, they are not allowing that to happen. And so I want to speak just in gratitude for you taking charge on this. And we did, at the time, when I was a commissioner, we did request that the Attorney General give us an opinion on what administrative attachment meant. And we were stonewalled. And we created so much drama and problems over this. You know, 2 commissioners were eliminated, and I think that had something to do with the trouble that we were causing. And during the budget presentation, we told them that we did not have satisfaction with the IT department, with the legal representation that we were getting, and that with the money that the Real Estate Commission was bringing in, we're self-sustaining. Our dues actually would allow us to stand alone. And that's what they're saying here. You can step out from under the umbrella of RLD and stand alone and support ourselves. But what they're doing is taking the money that we contribute through our dues and supporting the other boards and commissions that do not have the ability to be self-sustaining, that would not be able to pay for their own IT department, their own attorney, that type of thing. So what we're doing is supporting all the other boards and commissions, and in taking away our investigators and taking away all of the independence that we previously had under Wayne Sitio, they are really damaging the public and I think the industry. So I just want to thank you. I wanted to give you a little bit of history. This has been going on. They are on to something, and I fully support what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Kirsten. Yeah. It's an interesting communication process, and Kirsten brought up something that would be helpful for you to understand as well. RLD has its own attorneys, and the Real Estate Commission attorney is the Attorney General's office. And we've had some wonderful, but unfortunately frequent, real estate representation with the Attorney General's office. We'll get a really good representative that I can call on. Any of the commissioners can email, call, ask opinions of, and get answers for cases, for situations. They're kind of like our own personal counsel for the commission, but we've gone through them a lot. And so as soon as we get a good one, then they get redistributed back to the AG's office in another department, then we get another one, then we get another one. I will say, I think we're supposed to have another, we don't have one right now. We're supposed to get a new assignment probably January or February. So we do have our own representation, but if we needed to pull out to be autonomous, that'd be like the state suing itself. Now, so there's a little bit of civics lesson to understand all of these ladders of the organizations. So the AG's office represents the commission and its interests as with cases, with law, with statutes, with rules. RLD has its own attorney. There's sometimes a little crossover, which we've had a hard time understanding. But so if you can understand, now we have our own attorneys. So it's not like we can, it's complicated. So I don't know if that helps. But thank you, Kirsten, for bringing up the AG's office. That's real important to understand. And they have, like I said, over in 1986, Hal Stratton presented an attorney general opinion. Like he said, well, it's just my opinion. I said, well, I think it's better than my opinion. But where he actually said, as the attorney general, that RLD could not take the funds out of a department, a board that was challenging that. I don't know the total outcome of that situation, and then I found another one just last week that the accountancy board, the attorney general made an opinion that the accountancy board was separate from RLD with that administratively attached opinion. But again, attorney general opinions are one thing. They're a stepping stone, but it's got to go farther than that to actually have big teeth in it. But I think, like, my interest would be, let's all stack up these opinions and see if they've got an opinion that says it's not administratively attached, doesn't mean kidnapped. Thanks.
One of the only men in the world who I am jealous of his mustache. Mr. Burke, please.
Talk about it like it's a pet or a crystal ball. So I have a couple friends who are in news, local news, and I'll be right over here after this meeting. We need to get some other people so we can make sure that they hear this, the public hears this. I think a lot of us are focusing on what these two are doing, the petition and all of that stuff, but I've been hearing about this now for quite some time, And now that we have a deep dive, I think this is bigger than just signing a petition. This seems really humongous. And so anyone who knows some radio, TV, newspaper people, come talk to me after, and we can start from that angle as well. Sandy Pasquale, we used to bowl together when I had hair.
And thank you very much. I don't care what color it is as long as it stays attached. And I will offer my services. There was a distinct decision made based on input from a number of people that I respect that today was not an appropriate spot for the press. However, I stand prepared to provide all the deep dive documentation, everything else that I have uncovered to any, I was going to say legitimate news network, but I don't know if we have any of that. Different thought, but certainly anybody who would like to help air this in a different fashion, I'm here to help. Thank you. Ms. Maddox, are you just dying to take the microphone, or will you take it anyway?
It's designed for tall people. There we go. So we support RLD with a boat ton of money. And I think there's a lot of questions now from our membership, about how our money's being spent. And I think we know individually and as a group, a lot of the legislators, And I think we need to stop now and say, excuse me, we are a powerful organization and you start messing with us and you're in trouble.
That's that South Valley girl.
That North Valley, total Valley girl. I think we need to say, you want our money? Then you need to make sure that we're taken care of in order to protect the public and do what we have done for so many years. So I don't know who that person, and it's probably you, because it's certainly, we need to say enough is enough. And if that's through the press, or if we need to do petitions, whatever it is, but I think it's more than just petitions now. I think we need to say, either you take care of us or you're not gonna get our flipping money, babe. So I think it's really important, and I think that maybe it's bigger than just a few of us. I think it needs to be a lot of us, because it's a lot of flipping money. And my money now, there's a lot of questions about what our money's being spent on. And I know that this isn't a NMR situation, but I understand we have somebody that we're paying a lot of money to contact, to be the political representative in Santa Fe and take up our cause. And we have a group of people that are bigger than us. So I think we need to step up, everybody, and say, we have a lot of money. If you still want our money, then yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Barb. There's an absolute truth there, and that's how I started this morning. I need your help. I don't mind being the point man. Worst thing they could do to me, Mick, is not renew my license in November, which is not my intention to do anyway. I'm really okay with that. So thank you for that. Yes, please.
I think the big changes, so Sandy, I completely sympathize with you. My business partner and I bought a company, and we had to change licenses for like 55 people. And at the time, do you guys remember Roxanne? Roxanne worked with me, and she said, I want to make sure all of this runs smoothly for you. So do me a favor, bring all of your paperwork down, and let's you and I go over it to make sure everything is okay and work smoothly in order to make sure that your brokers who depend on their livelihood have a smooth transition. I could not do that now. There's nobody to talk to. And more than that, there's nobody that really gives a damn. And so I think that, however, whether we use the press or how we do that, we're directly related. The way that we keep our level of professionalism high it helps the consumers. I don't know why they can't understand that the two are so connected. I've got one broker in my office that is not going to renew her license because she started 3.5 weeks early, could not get into the portal, could not get anybody from the help desk, spent hours on the line, and when she finally got through and could do it, they said, thank you, that'll be $840. Well, if you don't renew on time, they charge you triple. And so it's crazy. And so now we have a person that spent 3 years with continuing education and money and the whole 9 yards, and she's just said, bag the whole thing now. So, I will say start really early, more than 3 weeks, but we're affecting people's livelihoods. And so, I think, let's work with our vote, with our representatives, with the press if we need to. So you have my support. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And that's exactly why we've started kind of this grassroots push, because if you keep it within the corporate level, it just looks like a political argument between departments, and it's gotten beyond that. Like I said, the Real Estate Commission is there to help the real estate industry, not just, take licenses and beat you over the head for education. But we all need to get better, and if you've got the landlord turning out your lights and then billing you for the electricity, that's what we're dealing with. And I have been told, I heard this, somebody a minute ago said, where they said, oh yes, I'm in charge of 28 plus departments, I can't possibly be expected to do this. And I've been told that in discussions with RLD attorney, where they say, you can't possibly expect us to give you investigators that are dedicated to just real estate. How about giving us somebody that knows something about real estate? Well, no, because nobody applied. You know why? I was told nobody in real estate would ever apply for an investigator's position because realtors make so much money, they wouldn't find this to be a lucrative salary base. And I quoted the NAR statistic about the average income for realtors, and then I got some like dusty eyes. But so, they're not helping, and they're not wanting to help. There's a lack of collaboration. I think we might be able to even argue some of this just with them and not having to get you all involved if we had a little shred of collaboration, but it really does feel like they're trying to starve the industry. It's not a priority. They tried to compare us and our importance to the economy to hairdressers because hairdressers are in a health profession. I'm not making this up. I mean, I could go on, but thank you. I've quoted that too. And it just, they don't, and RLD actually, 10 or so years ago made that amazing video about one of our realtors own who was also in big hot water with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and it made national news and national shows. And RLD actually made a video, but it's no longer findable on their current website. You have to kind of Google the Doug Vaughn RLD, and boof, there it comes. But it's like they're not in the business anymore of trying to protect anybody except their smoothly run organization. So that's just my theory. I haven't heard him actually say that, but I have heard the word standardization and other things like that. So, and I don't know if you remember how bad the website was where you couldn't even look up your own license. And that took me about 2 meetings and phone calls, and just to say, have you ever, is this like a mapping issue? I mean, in a meeting, I asked the attorney for RLD, why can't you fix the website? It's a simple WordPress website by Salesforce. I know Salesforce. I know how to change charts and, T-Gos, we're talking now. But it's a simple WordPress website, easily mapped, easily gotten data to go into the right places. I don't know, it took maybe 6 months to just get that changed. It's like, give me access, I'll change it. Anyway, so I'm running off, but the old website was incredibly efficient. It looked stupid, but it was incredibly efficient, and that's no longer the case. So, I mean, that's how long it's taken things to get changed. I think it took 6 months or more just so that you could look yourself up and see where you worked. So,
So 2 things. One, I just signed a petition and they asked for a donation afterwards. I tried to make the donation and it would not work. So you may want to check into that. The other thing is, maybe I need more money in my account, I don't know. The other thing is, I seem to recall that this all began, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure I have some inaccuracies here, but this all began several years ago with not anything statutory or legislatively done, except for the approval of a budget, but at the direction of Ms. Grisham to combine a lot of these things under RLD. And so I guess, yes, a petition to RLD is really important. We definitely need to do that. Getting that the issue in front of our legislators is certainly an important thing to do, but I think we also need to go, RLD didn't just say, okay, we're taking over. They were given the authority to do that, okay? And correct me if where they think they got that authority. I thought it came directly from the governor's office.
Thank you. That's part of my passion about this. Jack, they did just decide they were going to do this. And, sorry, I had to clean that thought up really well. I believe if the governor decides they would like a new statutory scheme, they should change the statute, not just pronounce to the peons what they're doing. New Mexico is running as though there's a ruling class and a ruled class. And I know the rules, I know the laws, I've done the research, and I understand one of the risks I run by stirring this up is somebody going in and changing the statute to make me look stupid. Well, I don't need any help. I'm okay with that. But they got to change the statute. The system has to work. And so part of my real angst is this is just a meeting to let you know the emperor has no clothes. I promise. And for those of you that can talk to your legislators, I'm going to be on the lookout for how they intend to try and patch and pull this crap together by changing little parts of the statute. Fortunately, I think I understand the New Mexico legislature and their vast efficiencies. And I don't think that they're going to have a lot of time to cobble stuff together. The other thing I did want to mention, if you decide to make a donation, you're making that donation to change.org, the one that is, they helped me design the petition, get it out, etc. There's no benefit to me or the Real Estate Commission. I made a small donation to create the petition. And by the way, if you need to petition any part of the government, change.org is an absolutely incredible techno partner. So I don't see anybody else lined up. The balance of your time here today is voluntary. Thank you so much for your help. I'm sorry, Ian. Go to the microphone.
So my comment was, I'm a little concerned about where the money went. In other words, it seems to me that we ought to be calling for some kind of an audit and getting it. And then we'll figure out, who had sticky fingers or another agenda.
Yeah, it's another agenda, I'm pretty sure, not sticky fingers.
Okay.
Although that may be one and the same. And we don't know what those numbers are, and that's why I'm going to make the request, Ian. Nothing much more frustrating than somebody's being paid as an accountant to tell you, I don't know those numbers and I can't get them.
Yeah.
Tell you what had happened if they were working for me. That would be a past tense reference, and I would hire somebody capable. I don't think this is a malevolent people problem. This is systemic. So, thank you for your input. See you on the 13th. Maybe somewhere in the funny papers before then. Thank you.